Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English with Liam and Olivia.
Yes, welcome. We are so happy you are here with us today.
This is the podcast where English feels real, natural, and part of your everyday life.
Before we get started, a quick reminder to like this episode if it helps you.
And if you have not subscribed yet, please do it now. A fresh episode is waiting for you every single day.
So today, we are talking about phrasal verbs.
And not just any phrasal verbs for when things go wrong.
Yes, because life does not always go to plan, and English has some really powerful phrases for exactly those moments.
And the beautiful thing is that these are the kinds of phrases that native speakers use all the time in real conversations when real things are going wrong.
So today, we are going to teach you the English that helps you talk about difficult moments in a natural and confident way.
Not stiff textbook language, real, living English that sounds like a human being going through something real.
Let us get into it.
We're going to look at three groups today. Phrasal verbs for when plans fall apart, phrasal verbs for when relationships get difficult, and phrasal verbs for when you're trying to recover and move forward.
All of them come up constantly in real life, and knowing them will make your English feel so much more natural and complete.
Let us start with the first group, phrasal verbs for when plans fall apart.
The first one is fall through.
Fall through means when something that was planned or expected does not happen. It collapses before it gets started or before it is finished.
Think about a job opportunity you were really excited about. You had the interview, you thought it went well, you were imagining starting the new role.
And then the company calls and says they're going in a different direction. The opportunity fell through.
Or you and your friends spent weeks planning a holiday together. You found the accommodation, you researched the activities.
And then at the last minute, half the group cannot come. The trip fell through.
Or in a business situation, two companies have been negotiating a deal for months. Everyone thought it was going to happen.
And then the negotiations break down and the deal falls through. All that time and energy went nowhere.
Fall through always carries that feeling of disappointment, of something that was supposed to happen not happening.
And it's such a natural phrase. Native speakers reach for fall through immediately in these situations.
If a plan didn't work out, something fell through. That's the phrase.
The second phrasal verb in this group, break down.
Break down has a few different meanings, and all of them are useful.
When a machine or a system stops working, it breaks down. Your car breaks down on the motorway, the website breaks down during a big sale, the heating breaks down in the middle of winter.
All of those use break down to describe something that stopped functioning.
But breakdown also works for relationships, negotiations, and communication. When these things stop working, they break down too.
Talks between two countries break down. Communication between a manager and their team breaks down. A marriage breaks down after years of trying.
And in a more personal, emotional sense, a person can break down too. It means they lose control emotionally. They cry. They can't hold it together anymore.
Think about someone who has been holding everything together for months, caring for a sick family member, working long hours, not sleeping properly.
And one day, someone asks them how they are, and they just break down. All the emotion comes out at once.
That breakdown is an honest and human response to too much pressure for too long, and it's a phrase that English speakers use with real empathy.
She broke down at the hospital. He broke down when he got the news. I nearly broke down in the middle of the meeting, but I held it together.
Break down is one of the most emotionally loaded phrasal verbs in English, and knowing it lets you talk about real difficult moments with real language.
The third one in this group, go wrong.
Now, technically, go wrong is very simple, but it's used in so many different ways in real English that it deserves attention.
Something goes wrong when it doesn't work as expected, when the result is not what was planned.
The presentation goes wrong when the technology fails. The recipe goes wrong when you add the wrong ingredient. The date goes wrong when both people realize they have nothing in common.
That last one is a very specific and very painful kind of going wrong.
Go wrong is also used when people try to understand what happened after something failed.
Where did things go wrong? That's such a common question after a difficult situation. It's not blaming, it's trying to understand.
What went wrong with the project? At what point did things start to go wrong? Did I do something that made things go wrong?
All of these are natural and common ways to use this phrasal verb in professional settings, in personal conversations, in your own internal reflection.
And, importantly, things going wrong is a normal part of life. Go wrong is not a dramatic phrase. It's a practical, honest one.
Things go wrong, and that's okay. And now you have the English to talk about it.
Now say it with us. Everyone listening, repeat these 3 phrases out loud.
The plan fell through. The system broke down. Something went wrong.
Say them again. The plan fell through. The system broke down. Something went wrong.
Feel how natural those sound. Not dramatic, not complicated, just honest, real English for when things don't go as planned.
Use them this week, in your thinking, in your conversations, in your English journal if you have one.
Now, let's move to the second group, phrasal verbs for when relationships get difficult.
These are the phrases that come up in some of the most important and most emotional conversations in life.
And having the right language for these moments matters, because when relationships are difficult, being able to express what is happening clearly helps so much.
The first one, fall out.
Fall out means to have a serious disagreement with someone that damages the relationship, often temporarily, sometimes permanently.
You fall out with a friend over something that was said. You fall out with a colleague over how a project was handled. You fall out with a family member over something that's been building for years.
Fall out implies that the relationship was close before, because you can only fall out with someone you were close to.
And that closeness is part of what makes fallout so painful. When you fall out with someone you care about, there's a real loss, even if it's temporary.
Think about 2 friends who've been close in school. One of them says something at a party that the other finds hurtful, and they fall out.
They stop talking. There's a silence between them, and both of them feel it, the absence where a friendship used to be.
Or 2 colleagues who have worked well together for years, and then a promotion decision creates tension between them. They fall out over it.
And the working environment becomes uncomfortable, not hostile necessarily, just no longer warm.
Or within a family, siblings who fall out over how to care for an aging parent, a painful and complicated situation.
Fall out carries the complexity of close relationships and the pain that only comes from people who genuinely mattered to each other.
And the good news is that fallouts are often repaired. People who fall out often eventually make up. And English has a phrase for that too, which we'll get to. The second phrasal verb, drift apart.
Drift apart is different from fall out. There's no argument, no specific moment of conflict.
Instead, drift apart describes the slow, gradual growing of distance between 2 people over time without anyone really deciding it.
It just happens. Life gets busy, priorities change, distance grows, and 2 people who were once close find themselves barely in contact.
Think about university friends. You were inseparable during those years. You shared everything.
And then you graduated and went to different cities, different careers, different lives. And slowly, without meaning to, you drifted apart.
Or childhood friends who were close through school and then slowly after that. No argument, no falling out, just the natural drift of lives going in different directions.
Or even romantic partners who drift apart. They're still together, but something has shifted. The closeness that was once there has quietly reduced.
And one day they look at each other and realize they've drifted apart, and they have to decide if they want to close that distance or accept it.
Drift apart is one of the most quietly sad phrases in English because it describes something that nobody chose, something that just happened.
And it is a very natural and very human experience. And now you have the language to name it clearly.
The third phrasal verb in this group, push away.
Push away is when someone consciously or unconsciously creates distance between themselves and another person. They push people away.
This can happen when someone is going through something difficult and they do not want to burden others, or when they are afraid of getting hurt, or when they do not feel they deserve the closeness.
It is a sad and very human pattern, and it is very common.
Think about someone who has been hurt badly in a previous relationship. When a new person comes into their life and starts getting close, they get scared.
And instead of letting the closeness happen, they create distance. They respond less warmly, they cancel plans, they pull back.
They push the person away, even though they want closeness, because the fear of being hurt again is louder than the desire for connection.
Or someone going through depression who stops reaching out to friends, who gives short answers, who declines invitations.
They are pushing people away, not because they don't love those people, but because the depression is telling them they are a burden or that they don't deserve company.
And push away can also be used in the other direction. You can be pushed away by someone. You feel the distance they are creating. You feel yourself being pushed out of their life.
She has been pushing everyone away since the diagnosis. He pushed her away and then regretted it when she stopped trying to get close. I felt like I was being pushed away, and I didn't know what to do with that.
Push away is a phrase that requires empathy to use well because it usually describes real pain underneath the behavior.
And knowing this phrase helps you talk about these situations with the understanding they deserve. Say it with us now. Repeat these out loud.
We fell out, but I think we'll be okay. We slowly drifted apart over the years. She has been pushing everyone away lately.
Say them again. We fell out, but I think we'll be okay. We slowly drifted apart over the years. She has been pushing everyone away lately.
Feel how much meaning those 3 sentences carry. Real relationships, real complexity, real English.
And now those phrases belong to you.
Now let's move to the third group, phrasal verbs for when you are trying to recover and move forward.
Because things go wrong, relationships get difficult, and then life asks you to get up and keep going.
And English has some beautiful and powerful phrases for that part too.
The first one, pick yourself up.
Pick yourself up means to recover after a setback, to get back to your feet emotionally or practically after something knocked you down.
It's one of the most encouraging phrases in English because it acknowledges that you were down and celebrates that you're choosing to get up.
Think about someone who failed an important exam. They studied so hard, they were so prepared, and they didn't pass.
And they allow themselves to feel disappointed for a day or two, and then they pick themselves up and start preparing again.
Or someone who has let go from a job they loved. The shock of it is real. The insecurity is real.
But after a period of processing, they pick themselves up. They update their profile, they reach out to their network, they start again.
Or in a personal situation, a relationship ends, and for a while, everything feels heavy and uncertain.
And then, slowly, they start to pick themselves up. They go out with friends, they return to hobbies they had let go, they start feeling like themselves again.
Pick yourself up is about resilience, not the absence of pain, but the choice to continue despite it.
And it's one of the most genuinely motivating phrases in the English language.
The second phrasal verb, move on.
Move on means to leave something in the past and focus on the future, to stop holding on to something that's over and start living forward.
It's sometimes said gently as encouragement, and sometimes it's said as advice that is harder to hear.
After a relationship ends, people around you might say it's time to move on. After a disappointment at work, you need to move on and focus on the next thing.
Move on doesn't mean forget or that what happened didn't matter. It means choosing not to let the past define or limit the present.
And it's not always easy. Moving on takes time, and it takes different amounts of time for different people and different situations.
Think about someone who didn't get the promotion they deserved. They feel frustrated and overlooked.
And at some point, they make a decision. They can stay bitter about it, or they can move on, focus on the next opportunity, grow from the experience.
Moving on here is a choice, a deliberate one, that takes strength.
Or someone who spent years in a city they weren't happy in, and they finally move, and they move on to a new place, a new chapter, a new version of their life.
Move on can be small or it can be enormous, but in every case, it describes the forward movement that follows something difficult.
And forward movement is always something worth having language for.
The third phrasal verb, start over.
Start over means to begin again from the beginning after something has failed or ended or been lost.
It's one of the most hopeful phrases in English because it says the ending of one thing is the beginning of another.
Think about someone whose business failed after years of effort. Everything they built is gone, and they have a choice.
They can decide that failure means the end, or they can decide to start over, to take what they learned and begin again with more knowledge than they had the first time.
Or someone who moved to a new country and had to start over socially. New friends, new professional network, new routines, new everything.
That starting over is genuinely hard and genuinely exciting at the same time.
Or something smaller, a project at work that goes so wrong it needs to be abandoned entirely, and the team has to start over from the beginning.
Frustrating in the moment, but sometimes starting over produces something much better than continuing with something that wasn't working.
Start over carries both the difficulty of beginning again and the hope of a fresh chance, and that combination is very human and very English.
And it's a phrase worth having ready, because in life, starting over is sometimes the bravest and best thing you can do.
Now, let's talk about some common mistakes learners make with these phrasal verbs. The first mistake, using fall out to mean fall down or physically fall.
Fall out in the relationship sense is completely different from physically falling, and mixing them up creates real confusion.
I fell out with my friend means we had a serious disagreement. I fell out means I physically fell or I fell out of something.
So be careful to use fall out only in the context of a relationship disagreement, not for physical falling.
The second mistake, using break down only for machines.
Money learners know breakdown for machines, but forget it also works for people, relationships, and systems.
The conversation broke down. The negotiations broke down. She broke down when she heard the news. All of these are completely natural and very common, so expand your use of break down beyond just technology and vehicles.
The third mistake, confusing drift apart with grow apart.
These two phrases have similar meanings, but drift apart tends to feel more gentle and natural, like something that just happened.
Grow apart can sometimes imply that people consciously developed in different directions, and because of that became less compatible.
In everyday conversation, both are acceptable and often used interchangeably, but knowing the slight difference helps you choose the more natural one for each situation. With old friends or romantic partners who quietly lost closeness, drift apart tends to feel more natural.
With people who changed significantly as individuals and therefore became less close, grow apart can feel more fitting.
Both are right, but now you understand the subtle difference between them.
Now let's bring all of these phrasal verbs into real daily life situations together.
Imagine a Monday morning at work. You had been working on a big presentation for a client for weeks. You stayed late, you put real care into it.
And then on Friday, the client called and said they were going in a different direction. The whole project fell through.
You come in on Monday feeling deflated. A colleague asks how the weekend was. You say, honestly, not great. The client project fell through on Friday. I'm still processing it.
And your colleague nods. They understand exactly what you mean. No explanation needed. The phrasal verb carried the whole story.
Later that day, in a team meeting, something goes wrong with the presentation software. The slides won't load, the video won't play.
Your manager says, okay, the technology has broken down. We are going to adapt. Let us just talk through the points without the slides.
Professional, calm, breakdown used naturally to describe a technical failure without drama.
At lunch, you talk to a friend on the phone. She mentions that two mutual friends have fallen out over something that happened at a party.
You say, oh no, I had no idea. I hope they sort it out. They've been friends for so long.
And your friend says, I think they will. It's not the first time something went wrong between them. They always come back to each other eventually.
Go wrong, fall out, used naturally in a real friendship conversation.
End of the day, you think about the project that fell through, and you decide you are going to pick yourself up, figure out what went wrong, and start working on the next pitch.
Not staying in the disappointment, moving forward, picking yourself up. That's the choice.
And you have all the English you need to think about it and talk about it clearly.
Now let's try a personal relationship situation.
Someone thinks about an old friend they used to be very close to. They met at university, they were inseparable for 4 years.
And then, after graduation, they moved to different cities. They tried to stay in touch, but slowly drifted apart.
They look at their friend's social media profile now and barely recognize the life they are living. So different from the shared life they had.
They feel a quiet sadness about it, not a dramatic falling out, just the gentle reality of drifting apart.
And they decide to send a message, a simple one. Thinking about you. Hope you're well.
Because sometimes when people drift apart, one message is enough to close the distance a little, and it takes so little to try.
And their friend replies warmly, and they arrange a call. And on the call, it feels like almost no time has passed.
Because real friendship does not disappear. It just sometimes needs a small act to remind both people that it's still there.
And they end the call promising to stay in better touch, picking up something that had drifted, choosing not to let it go further.
That's a very human story, and phrasal verbs like drift apart and pick up help tell it in the most natural English. Let's try one more, a deeply personal moment of recovery.
Someone went through a genuinely hard year. A relationship ended, a family member got sick, a career plan didn't work out.
And for a while, they pushed everyone away. They needed to. They didn't have the energy to be present for others. They barely had enough energy for themselves.
And people around them noticed. Some were hurt by it, some understood. All of them waited.
And slowly, after months, something shifted. The person started picking themselves up.
They reached back out to the people they had pulled away from. They started moving on from the things they couldn't change.
They began to see the difficult year not as something that destroyed them, but as something they survived. And what you survive becomes part of your strength.
And one evening, they sat down with a close friend and talked through everything that had gone wrong. All of it.
And the friend listened, and at the end they said, "I'm so glad you're starting to come back to yourself. We missed you."
And the person said, "I think I'm ready to start over. Not go back to before, just start fresh from here."
Start over, from here, with everything they learned from the hard year as their foundation.
That's not a small thing. That is one of the bravest things a person can say. And English gave them the exact right words to say it.
Say it with us one final time. Everyone listening, repeat these out loud.
Something went wrong, but I'm picking myself up. I'm choosing to move on, and I'm ready to start over.
Say them again. Something went wrong, but I'm picking myself up. I'm choosing to move on, and I'm ready to start over.
3 sentences, 3 phrasal verbs, and a complete story of resilience told in natural, real English.
That's what language does when it's truly yours. It tells your story, clearly, honestly, beautifully.
Let's bring everything together now. Group 1 was phrasal verbs for when plans fall apart, fall through for when something planned does not happen, break down for when systems, machines, relationships, or people stop functioning, and go wrong for when something doesn't work as expected.
Group 2 was phrasal verbs for when relationships get difficult, fall out for a serious disagreement that damages closeness, drift apart for the slow, quiet growing of distance, and push away for when someone creates distance because of fear or pain.
Phrasal verbs group 3 was for recovery and moving forward. Pick yourself up for choosing to recover after a setback, move on for leaving something in the past and living forward, and start over for beginning again with fresh intention.
9 phrasal verbs, all for real life, all for the difficult, honest human moments that everyone goes through.
And now you have the English to talk about those moments, with clarity, with naturalness, with the language that real people use.
That's genuinely powerful, because language that helps you process and share difficult experiences is some of the most important language there is.
You're not just learning English words, you're learning how to give voice to your real life in English, and that matters more than any vocabulary list ever could.
Keep going. Things will go wrong sometimes, and when they do, you now have the language to navigate them, in English and in life.
We are so proud of you for being here, for doing this work, for choosing to grow even when it's not easy.
If today helped you give language to some of the harder moments in life, please give it a like.
This has been English with Liam and Olivia. Simple English, real conversations, daily practice. See you in the next episode.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.